Hey, welcome everyone. I know people are still joining, so I go ahead and yeah, I think you're all good there. Hey, my name is Sharif. I'm one of the product specialists here at ShowFlow. If you've been checking out our customer spotlights for the past few weeks, yes, this is a different face. Steven is taking a little break right now, so I'm stepping in. And it is my pleasure to highlight one of the more awesome, amazing organizations, the San Antonio Rodeo. And the person we'll be highlighting is Darci. So welcome, Darci.
Thank you, Sharif. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this, and looking forward to learning from you and learning more about the awesome work you and your team do. Hey, a few things I want to go ahead and make sure that everyone's aware of. This is an interactive time and engaging time. So as Darci is dropping knowledge bombs, please ask questions, whether it's show flow questions or just, hey, Darci, how are you awesome? How do you lead a great team? Things like that. Darci is well equipped to answer those. Also, someone that's off camera but is very much involved is JP. He's on our show flow team as well. So he's the one that will be fielding the questions and sending them my way. All right, well, let's go ahead and kind of dive right in. Spend a few minutes getting to know you, know your team. So Darci, let's go ahead and start off with telling us what's the San Antonio Rodeo and yeah, what it's all about.
So the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo is our full name. We're actually a 501c3. We're a nonprofit, which means we have a lot of flexibility and get to work with fantastic volunteers. So we're a small staff of about 30 year round, but we have about 6,000 volunteers, and those guys and women make it happen for us. They are the backbone. And so, you know, we have an office structure, but each one of us works very closely with our organizational volunteer structure as well. So basically, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, we have a livestock show piece. And then we have obviously the rodeo side as well. There's a fair, there's outdoor events, there's a carnival. For the rodeo, it is held in the AT&T Center, and that is specifically what I get to work with and around. And it's a year-round thing that we work towards every year in February. And basically the dollars that we receive each year after all of our operational expenses are paid go to supporting agriculture in the youth of Texas. So we provide grants and scholarship dollars to folks pursuing agricultural degrees or agricultural ambitions. So it's a very circular motion. We try to pump that money back into the agricultural sector in Texas.
Awesome. So you're putting on a show, a fun show, but you also want to help the community that you're in, and you kind of want to make this kind of more about just the show, the rodeo, but really help the community as well. That's amazing.
Exactly. It's a community event. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the country, and we're fortunate that we have a big reach within you know, the little suburbs around San Antonio. It's one of the top 3 events in the city, and everyone looks forward to February each year. They have to get their boots on and make sure that they're ready to rodeo. So it's awesome. It's a pretty unique opportunity.
You know, when I get home, my wife's going to ask me, what did you learn today? I'm going to say San Antonio is the 7th biggest city in the US. I had no idea. That's great. Thanks for that tidbit there. Well, so tell us about yourself, in addition to your role at the San Antonio Stock and Rodeo Show, kind of your journey from, I guess, college to where you are now.
Sure. Well, I grew up in a ranching family. We raised livestock I grew up in West Texas. I was fortunate to go to college actually on a San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo scholarship. So a lot of my education was paid for through this entity that I now work for. So I have a lot of vested interest there because it gave me so much growing up.
Mhm.
And then I was fortunate to, I received my bachelor's and my master's in animal science. I grew up showing at livestock, and I just really couldn't figure out anything else I wanted to do but put on events. And I also worked for the San Angelo Rodeo and the Houston Livestock Show. So really organizational events that involve animals is what interests me. So that's, I started in 2014 at San Antonio as an executive assistant. The executive I served under was over several different departments, and this one, the rodeo specifically, just interested me the most, and so I was able to get a little more involved with it over the past 2 years. And now I serve as the rodeo officer, which means I work alongside a vast production team who has a lot more experience than me, but I learn every day. And it's really just about communicating within the team and throughout, and using people's strengths to make sure that they're in the right seat on the bus and making sure we're all going in the same direction.
Great. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And hey, real quick, I want to go ahead and pause here again. Hey, if you're just joining, thanks for joining our Show Flow Customer Spotlight. Just finished getting to know a little bit more about Darci, and I want to know who's joining our call. I know Darci invited some of her colleagues from her association, but I want to send a poll out right now. Thanks, JP. So the first one is, what kind of production do you do? So we have several options: corporate, internal meetings, live events, studio broadcast, sports presentation, house of worship, theater, rodeo. That's the first time making his appearance on our poll. So we'll go ahead and end that. And all right. So I think the results here, mostly game presentation and sports and everything. We had a few rodeo as well, majority rodeo. So that's awesome. Okay, next poll number 2. Let's go ahead and hit that up as well. What's your role? So within your organization, what role are you? Show caller, director, producer, show tech, or other? We'll go ahead and do about 5 seconds and end the poll. All right, so we have about 42% director, other, show callers, producers. Good distribution there. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and get to know a little bit more about kind of what the San Antonio Rodeo is all about. So I'm just going to go through some photos here, Darci, and kind of walk me through, why do so many people fill up the AT&T Center and see this amazing show? What makes it so special?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a celebration between human and animal. And when you're working with animals, especially 1,500-pound animals, you're not always in charge. And so we can kind of, it's a delicate balance. So the beauty of being able to maneuver an animal. So this is a bull jumper, and basically it's, we try to combine a little bit of competition with some entertainment within the rodeo segment. So we also have a recording artist, a concert after the rodeo, but we have about an hour and 50-minute show of the actual rodeo competition. So here you're seeing a bareback rider, that's a barrel racer. We've have 7 different events where the competition is hand selected, basically both animal and athlete. We have a certain group of them that we invite each year, and we also hand select the animals that come in as well, so that they're the top performers and we have the top athletes on those top animal athletes. So we're putting on a show with really big animals and entertaining people as well. So we have kind of the competition side of it. And then we weave in some entertainment as well. And for instance, the bull jumper, they're more or less segment breaks. When you think about sports, whether it's the inning break or, the French fry toss after a 7th inning, that's essentially what we're doing here. This is a bullfight. So we have actual bullfighters who are maneuvering a bull. We have trick riders who make up the segment breaks as well. The segment breaks function as both operational, so getting ready for another event, and then they're also diversionary. So if we've been riding horses in the saddle bronc riding for 10 or 15 minutes, we kind of think, well, the fans are ready to see something different, so we'll throw in something totally different like a bullfight or a bull jumper in the middle of the show so that it mixes it up a little bit.
I know when we were talking earlier, kind of coming up with a game plan, I love how you described these events are kind of like innings, that can go on for a certain amount of time, but then you have your in between innings where kind of like a NBA TV timeout where you've got to entertain people. Is it kind of that format?
Yes, so we have a bracket format. So it's very structured as far as we have 50 contestants or athletes in each event. So each of 7 events. So we have 10 athletes performing in each event, during each show. So we know we're going to have 10 bull riders per se, but we don't necessarily, and we know we have the 10 bulls that are selected as well. So it's set in that way, but again, we're dealing with animals, so we're not always sure what's going to happen within that. So that's kind of the variation, but there is a structure around it. Our bracket system is, you can compare it to March Madness, where the best of the best get to the end. So you win, you keep competing. You lose, you go home, essentially. So again, we try to tie in all different parts of competition. There are 7 different events, a little bit for everyone. Everyone has their own favorite. We have a first responder night. We try to salute our military and our local first responders. So this is the Bexar County Sheriff. We have different groups come in, whether it's pipes and drums. This is actually the Marine Mounted Color Guard out of California. Wow. Being Military City, USA, San Antonio really doesn't have an excuse not to invite any military that wants to participate. And we have a great volunteer committee who helps us with that. Anytime that we need something, a general is willing to help. This is actually the trumpets that are the percussion for the president. They are the main entertainers. They're I was so excited to have them in. They're actually down for an event in the city, and they were able to play our national anthem. So the Herald trumpets were a hit. But awesome. We tried to weave in different parts of the city and anything that would touch the heart or the mind of someone. Obviously, in Texas, we're pretty proud of our flag and our colors. So the Texas flag always gets a standing ovation. It's very Americana, and we know there's a lot of different interests out there. So we try to keep it versatile, and knowing that we have 22 different performances, we have to provide something different each time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a little girl. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick on this one. Yeah, I've got some friends living in Texas, and we were sharing this earlier, but the love you have for your state, it's something admirable. And yeah, I know. Is there anything kind of special about a Texas rodeo as opposed to other ones? Or is it, I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, there's plenty of other rodeos on. I'm not gonna be too biased, but so I do believe rodeo originated in South Texas. So regardless, though, we're all fans of each other, and You know, there are a lot more as far as athletes that live in Texas. So I guess the pool is deeper, whereas, you know, in some of the other states, it's not nearly as much of a cultural icon. So Texas rodeo always sells well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard the saying before, so I think it's safe to say everything's bigger in Texas. So you can say the rodeo. That's safe to say there, without hopefully getting you in trouble. Sorry, I had not interrupted you when you were going over this.
No, that's great. And so we also want to, we have a family oriented event. And so anything we do has to have a Western flair or a family friendly underlying to it, because you come out to the show with the family, you can go to the fairgrounds, eat you a funnel cake, and then come to the show as well. And this little girl is 10. She has worked her whole life to learn how to roam and ride, which is her standing on the back of these horses. And she just kind of speaks to those little girls or you know, young kids in the audience to say, well, I could be a part of a show too. And
Yeah.
it just, you know, kind of breeds that.
Yeah. So I mean, so yeah, just going through these next photos a little kind of quicker. You're putting on a show. You're kind of putting on these competitions for these athletes, and then also you have to house these artists as well. Could you talk about what's the workflow with communicating everything to your team, to your crew, going back and forth between different events, from how's kind of hosting a bull riding competition to now kind of a country music concert? Tell me more about that, and how does your crew manage all of that?
Sure. San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo is 72 years old. So our first rodeo was in 1950. There's plenty of events out there that are much older, but basically we as staff and volunteers get to put, as executive producers per se, put the show together and what we want it to look and feel like. And then we are able to work alongside upwards of 6,000 volunteers to make it all come together. So we have one ticket, and it includes the rodeo, and on the back of that is a concert. So we bring in recording artists, national recording artists, some are country, some, again, they speak to all genres. Some are pop, some are Latin. We also have some puppeteers that we've had in the past. They always go over well. But this is intermission. Essentially, we are making two different venues at the same time. And so following the rodeo, we bring out a stage, and it's a rotating stage that we put in the middle of the arena. The folks around in the U shape is what we call Rodeo Star Experience. Those are the ones who want to get up close and personal with the artists. They have paid for a higher price ticket, so they get floor seating and their own concessionaire. And so the stage is a rotating stage. It rotates one direction and then it reverses and goes the other direction, so as to give everyone in the bowl a good look at the artists.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, let me just go back to my other document here. Good. So it's very involved, and you've got to keep everyone on the same page to make sure that, you know, the show goes on. You have a great show. So you have a few photos of show flow in here. We'll get to the software in a little bit, but is this, I guess, your setup right here where you are, where you can see everything?
Yes. So essentially, when we brought show flow on 2 years ago, so 2019 was our first year, we were going through a major internal and external personnel change. And in order to kind of softly walk us through that, we had to find an accountability partner to be able to run our show on a more timely basis, and then also to be able to say, well, it isn't this one person's vision, it's all of the vision of who is paid to put on this production. We are the executive producer. We are going to take more ownership of our show. So when we brought show flow on, that's really the tool that has allowed us to have more skin in the game and be able to be tighter with our communication.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's a good segue. Let's go ahead and jump right into software. As I do that, I do want to remind everyone that's attending, again, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please submit them via the chat. JP, who is monitoring the chat, he will go ahead and take those questions. And it can be anything about how Darci and her team work together to how they use ShowFlow. So any variety there works. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. So this is your ShowFlow page. I guess walk me through. You've been doing this for a while. How did ShowFlow get on your radar? And I guess what was kind of the selling point for you that made you think I've got to put this into practice here?
Sure, we had some friends in the industry, and obviously working with these recording artists, kind of the problem we were running into was we would contract with an artist, say, we'll just use Pitbull, and he would be, so those guys work on a TV timeline, and we would contract with them and we would say, this is about when you're going to go on, when your show's going to start. And so they would come back and say, well, we need a tighter timeline. And so at the end of the rodeo, during the day, we were like, well, we really still don't have a tighter timeline. And then at the end of the rodeo, we're buzzing around physically, trying to find his team, trying to make sure that they're ready. And it was just kind of lost in communication. We weren't giving our artists the language that they spoke. We were speaking in a different terminology. I mean, we're in bull riding. Obviously, you should be getting ready. That makes sense to us. It didn't make sense to the artists' teams. So we had to find a solution to be able to speak the language and provide our artist team some tools in order to get on the same page and make the communication smoother. So once we got into working with ShowFlow, we understood that really it was a trickle down effect. We thought it would just affect one area, and it turned into working with so many people in the AT&T Center that is monitoring or watching what is happening, what action is happening in the bowl. So once we started with ShowFlow, we really saw that our artists took notice that we were running on a tight timeline, that we could manage those expectations better, and vice versa, that it wasn't just a Wild West show, that we actually had a true production here, that we were able to say, okay, well, we had a delay. They can watch their little blue line, as I say, they watch the show caller, and they say, oh, okay, well, I have 10 minutes left. And that kind of does a trickle down effect on the backside, because they're thinking, oh, okay, well, 10 minutes, I need to do X, Y, and Z to have my team ready. So the more we got into it, I don't think any of us realized how great of an opportunity that would be.
Well, yeah, let's go ahead and I love that, the little blue line. And for those that haven't used ShowFlow before, you're probably wondering what she's talking about. It's this blue line right here. It seems kind of innocuous there. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but that is the key to keeping everyone on the same page. So let's walk people through that right now. If you've seen this book, if you know ShowFlow, you kind of know the lay of the land. But for those that haven't seen this and need to kind of know a little bit more, this is ShowFlow. This is the run of show. You have your item numbers here in items, your timing columns, and your AVL columns. And we'll go into more about why Darci puts things here, why she does the colorings here. But to stay on that topic of the little blue bar, I want to show what that looks like. So I brought in another user here, and this user is in the run of show. And this user is going to follow the show caller. That's a permission level in show flow. And when the show caller, in this case Darci, clicks track, that starts broadcasting her position, and anyone who's following her, kind of like tuning into a specific station in the dial of the radio station, they follow along. And when Darci presses the space bar, it moves to the next row. Keeps everyone on the same page. So you have this set up, Darci. Like, where do you have the people that are following you? What parts of the venue are they? Is this set up in?
So my personal laptop is sitting in the on the production stand per se. We have a studio who's using it more or less in paper form, and we are also sharing this. Like I mentioned with our artists, we made them a user and send them just the link each day. So it's a different artist each performance. Okay. They're able to click that, and it's dynamic, and they're watching the little blue bar go down as each event goes through. So even if they're in their bus or in back of house, they're watching and relating to what their back routing is if they've never seen it before.
So a lot of times they've never been in show flow before.
Right.
Okay.
So they're pretty avid about it. They're excited to know exactly what's going on when it's happening. Again, it's talking the same language.
Yeah.
We also share it with our concessionaires in the building. So to know when breaks may be, or during intermission when we're setting up for the artists after the rodeo. We also share it with our parking and many of our groundskeepers so that they know when ingress or egress is on the grounds, when the show's over, so they know when to expect more traffic on the outside. You would be surprised once you get into it how many people think they need the show flow run of show. And then utilizing the app, they're able to just carry it on their phone. They don't have to have their computer at all, and the app is huge.
Wow, that's great. I love how you've empowered your team and empowered the artists to kind of take ownership of being responsible for their schedule and for their time, and you've given them the tools and using. It's a great example of using technology to make your job easier. So it doesn't. I imagine you were probably hunting them down. Last minute things or last minute details were communicated, and this solved a lot of that, I imagine. So that's great. Let's walk through your run of show, your show flow. So it seems like you've got a lot of details here, a lot of global highlights. So for those that don't know, this is a global highlight. Darci's given me permission to edit her script. So, these are very easy to change the highlight portion of it. So walk me through, I guess, why are some in this gray color? What is that just kind of a visual aid to help your team know what section of the show you're in? Yeah, if you could walk me through that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I've hit a lot on transition to the artist, but it's really also helped us in our actual rodeo production. The difference, if you've watched some of the other webinars, they're, I would say, more dynamic scripting, whereas ours, we have built out the script that you're seeing right now. And then 2 weeks prior to the show, we know all the things that are going to happen, all of the little acts and entertainment pieces that we're building into the show. And then I essentially replicate or duplicate each show, change the date, change the artist, have a few tweaks here and there. But basically, I send out, after that, I send the link out to many of our production personnel and essentially give them or assign them a column. So audio group, lighting group, video group. I'm not the expert in the detail of what needs to go on lighting. I have the vision of what it needs to be. We need full lights at some parts during the show, and other times we need it to be a dark house or a half house. But again, that's not a language that I necessarily have to know, need to know. And so I'm able to send that out to the group beforehand, say, hey guys, would you update your columns? And then they're able to, it's live, it's living. So it's really a team build. Again, that editable feature doesn't go out to everyone. We don't want everyone's fingers in the pie. We have a certain group of folks that we trust to make those edits, because as the executive producer, we don't want to lose control of it. But once the scripts are built, then we replicate them, and they are what they are. We may make some tweaks prior to the day, but for the most part during the show, we aren't moving sponsorable or sponsorship elements around to say, like I was alluding to, if you've watched other webinars, if they're driven by TV. So if the inning goes long, or if it goes into overtime, then they can move the French fry toss later. That's not something we're doing right now. Our TV isn't driving our production. It's the live event over TV at the moment. We're going towards a TV production. We're getting closer. But with that, we'll be able to build in those breaks strategically. So where we have a bull jumper will be a TV break per se. At current, we're just not doing that. We have a TV deal that we have been working on the past couple of years, and it's a industry build. So we're looking to utilize that in the future.
Okay. So I mean, bringing broadcast into it is what you're mentioning.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, if you wouldn't mind, let's pause for a question or two. I think you kind of answered this, but maybe they're looking for is kind of a one-liner. How do you communicate among your team? And that question was just asked as you were describing assigning the different columns. So I don't know if you could hone in on that. How do you communicate with your team?
A lot of emails and texts. I live by my phone, and text messaging is how I run life during February. I'm in constant communication with our team. To me, it's helped out over the past couple of years to start these communications in the summer when things aren't nearly as busy. People in events tend to be procrastinators. If we didn't have a deadline, we would never get anything done. So in true form, we're cramming things together February 1st, but with show flow especially, we're able to start that communication in June to say, okay, we know these are all the things that we're going to need. These are the changes we're looking to make. Let's not wait till February 1st. So it's really allowed us to kind of step back and start that communication a little earlier with these templates. I would just say a lot of back and forth via text in event or during the live event. We're in the AT&T Center and things are loud. So really it's a text message or it's a phone call. Phone calls are, again, pretty hard, but there is, I believe, being live, a shareable communication segment on show flow. It's just most of our folks are not sitting at their device or on their laptop. They're fluid and moving. So it's
so
our
do they have
devices.
a printout? Sorry, what was that?
It's through our phones.
Your phones. Okay. So are they running around with the printout, or do you have the show flow up on a screen somewhere, or is it, I guess, how do they know the running order?
Yep. We actually don't have it on a screen just because it isn't dynamic. We're not moving line items around. So I will print out a handful of scripts for those key production personnel who need to know every line item. Mm-hmm. The others get a basic high points, the bullets. But for the most part, our team very much knows the run of show. And like I said, when you're working with animals, there are so many things that could go wrong in the bareback riding or not go wrong, but just so many variables that you're working with since you're dealing with animals. And it's like, you don't have time to look at a piece of paper. You have to know it.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, animals are definitely unpredictable, and yeah, just in case you know, if you might have heard about show flow and thought show flow means you don't, you can't, you don't have to get rid of paper. Just like Darci said, she prints them out. So here, you know, we have PDF export. You can go ahead and choose your columns and drop page breaks if you need to, and have that printed out as well. And you can print with Word or Excel. Either are options for you. I have another question for you. How many of your crew make edits, and how many just get read-only or guest pass?
90% of them get read-only. There are our technical director, our director, and my counterpart, our entertainment officer, get it. But for the most part, like I said, being the executive director of the show, as far as our CEO and our select staff develop it, so we don't want too many people making decisions on our behalf. So, and also changing the script. So those particular people, some aren't even really, they won't even touch it. They will just tell me the edits, which are fine. And I go through there. I think the biggest piece is with show flow is in changing from a generic Excel document, which everyone used before they went to show flow or may still use, is the timing feature. That has been able to keep us on cue. We have show flow has an over under, and it allows us to build in really as you're scripting, you're able to build in how much time is left over, whether you're running long in the bull riding, whether you're running short. So you're able to see, oh, I'm 3 minutes over. This is something that in the future we can look to say, well, if we're going to be long, we're going to have to cut out our entertainment piece here. But at this time, it's all scripted, so we're not looking to do that. If our show goes long, then it's just long. But the over-under really keeps us accountable. And so we have 22 performances. If at performance 3, we look at it and we're still running really long on this event, then we can address it. And you can sit there with the stopwatch. I don't really want to do that. Show flow does it for us. So it really, it holds that third, I guess, it's my accountability partner. Yeah. And it's not me saying it, it's the software. So you don't have to get mad at me.
Yeah. So show flow's fault. That's what you can say right there. That's great. Yeah. So let's walk everyone through that. So what Darci's talking about, the over under, it's on row 121. And so there's 3 timing columns here: time of day, the preset time, or you might call it a game clock or something like that. It's pretty much the scoreboard time, and then your duration, TRT. And so right now I have my clock timer preset time set to 14 minutes and 25 seconds. And it's taking the durations on the right side here and subtracting the duration from this first preset time. At the end of all of the durations, it equals out to 0. If I add more minutes or more durations, something like that, it will tell me, okay, you are now 2 minutes over. You've got to change something here. Maybe I make this to 12 minutes. And you can also allow show flow to help you dynamically change your over under as well. So right now I'm in this 12-minute block. I'm in here for about several seconds or so, and show flow can help you insert the actual elapsed time, and then you'll know that you are under 11 minutes and 47 seconds. So that's the current feature we have in now. I think I was telling Darci earlier, we actually have in beta an over under that I have turned off right now, but it sits right there, and then it actively tells you again the over under And then an additional feature is it will let you know when you're supposed to end. So just like this row right here, but just more prominent. It's in private beta right now. If you are a ShowFlow customer and you're on this call and you're saying, give me this over under, I want to test it out, just hit our blue chat bubble here on the right and we'll get you hooked up. That goes for you too, Darci. If you'd like to test it out, you definitely can get the private beta. So that's great. I think that timing is a popular feature in ShowFlow, but I commend you for using it, and it's there. Use it to your ability there.
And that was actually a hockey template that I used. So you guys have a lot of templates that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I did the first year, and just scripting does not come easily to me. I don't know all the pieces, but I would suggest starting with a template that is, hockey is not close to rodeo, but as far as building out your individual events, I looked at it like, well, individual periods or innings, you could say, in baseball is essentially our events. So I just changed the title name and built it out to make it work for us. The over-under piece was already built in there as well, so I didn't have to be too smart on the timing. It just, I just had to change it for our event.
Well, yeah, I still commend you. You utilized it, so it's awesome. One more, I see a few more questions come in, but I want to touch in on one more thing on how you export. Do you use Guest Pass? I can't remember if I asked you that earlier. Are you familiar with that?
We don't. So with the artists, we create them as a part of the team and just send out a live one to them. I use Guest Pass for a couple of folks, but in general, they like to follow the blue line. So we have to make amends, and a volunteer organization, whatever they want, that's what they get.
Yeah. So, okay, great. Well, just so everyone's on the same page with us, Guest Pass pretty much allows you to see the run of show without a login. It's a read-only PDF, but if you make changes or Darci makes changes to the document, it's seen by those. Next time you click the link again or refresh your browser, those changes are seen, and you can still download, but you can get access to any of the documents that are available to you. And that's Guest Pass. But follow the blue line. Like, I think that's just, I love that term. If anyone has a question, just say, if you want to know where we are in the show, just follow the blue line. I feel like that solves a lot of questions there.
Yeah, it's funny. Our artists have really jumped on the rodeo bandwagon, and they're more interested in the show than we ever thought they would be, just because they think they know what's happening now. And even though they may not know what barrel racing is, they're like, oh, well, the blue line's on it, so I can look at the TV and say, well, this is what's happening right now, and they relate it. So again, just trying to be that conduit to speak the same language.
Great. One question here is, it seems there are a lot of similarities between this and game presentation. What do your sponsorship elements look like? Are they part of your rundown? And maybe I don't know, we're touching into global elements here, but yeah, does that question make sense?
So we are, as far as our sponsorship elements, we build those into more, and probably more this year. I did not build them into the show as much, because being in the AT&T Center where the San Antonio Spurs play, we're in kind of a technology mecca. It's probably not at the top of the league, but for rodeo, it is a lot of moving parts. So we really try to digitize as many of our sponsorship elements as possible. So I probably didn't build those into the scripts as much this year, just because they're pre-built and they don't change. So our tie down roping sponsor is the same. It's Kellogg's. And after 22 shows, you essentially, if you don't know it, that's what it is. Yeah. So I have a sponsor column there, but again, it's very much a template. And the way we contract with sponsors, we really try to keep it clean. We don't have, we have a clean arena. We don't have sponsors in the arena. So again, we try not to have a PA or any kind of announcements that have sponsor elements in them. We will try to digitize it as much as possible, just because that's what catches people's eyes, is the screens, the moving videos.
Great. And then I have one more question. I'm trying to think where it went. Okay, well, JP, if you see that question, I thought I saw it pop up in the kind of Zoom Q&A. Send it my way. If not, then I guess we already answered it. And I think one more thing, I saw that you're utilizing global elements. Is that a big part of your workflow still, or is that something you're still exploring? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, and that goes back to the sponsor piece as well. If you have, say, every third performance, or you know, in sports, every other game, or whatever, I would say the sponsor elements are very helpful in the global elements. I use the global element manager, and it's very useful for ours. For our show, it's so much a template. It's easier for me to just replicate and duplicate the shows rather than building out a new script each time using the global elements. That's probably not the case for everyone, but knowing that we have the same 7 events, it's kind of, to me, 6 one way, half a dozen another. They're both just as easy, but to me, I just found the duplication a little more straightforward.
Awesome. Yeah, so whatever is kind of the easier route for you. And for those that aren't aware, Global Elements, Darci's built out several elements, or these rows, and saved them in a library that we call Global Elements. And then if she wants to bring it into her show, she could just drag it right into there, and it's there right after doors open. You can see the PA read at the very top right there. Hey, I want to pause here because I know this is officially a 45-minute customer spotlight. Just have a few more minutes, but I just want to recognize, if you have to bail, it's okay. We're going to stay on for a few more minutes, but yeah, I just want to go ahead and recognize that. All right, another question we have is there a live chat feature? I'll take that. Currently, we have a live chat feature, but it's for our customer service, but that's another item in beta right now. And so I don't have that turned on, but yeah, it's a live chat feature that we're working on, which will allow you to talk with your crew within show flow. So you can still see your run of show or be on the event page, and you can have different channels like a production channel, lighting channel, audio, or direct message people, and you'll be able to get a message out to them. You can even tag them as well, kind of like a notification. So that's in beta as well. And for those that are interested, just ping us in our blue chat bubble right there, and we'll talk to you and see if we can get that beta turned on for you.
I would say on the entire usage of show flow, going back to our personnel transition, and really just any time you have a new feature you want to add into your show, really giving someone an entire script lets them zoom out and say, whoa, I am just one part of this show. So we have about a 3.5 hour show, door to door, where it's one ticket. We contract with an artist that follows a rodeo. That's sometimes hard for them to understand, but we also have, we sell the rodeo. That is what we do, the stock show and rodeo. So it's kind of a good guidebook for them to say, oh, I have to stay accountable because all these things have to happen before I can look good. So that's something that, you know, it's not, that's something we've been able to go to our artists with and say, all of these things must happen before you. But then we can also go back to our rodeo people and say, hey, we've got to stay accountable because this has to happen after you. so to be able to see the full picture, I think that sometimes just as human error, we don't realize how we affect other people. So being able to provide a full script is very helpful in kind of buffering that communication.
Yeah, that's great. That's a common question we get a lot is, how do I make people that are not, that haven't used ShowFlow before, how do I kind of get them comfortable? But you've got, it's something that you've embraced, and you've said, hey, embrace ShowFlow. This will help you get a grasp a bigger picture of what's going on, and also help where you are in the flow of the show. So I just want to commend you on that. That's that's I think great job of you and your team, great leadership that you're doing. All right, I think I've got a question on our chat. Use both printout and live feed on my screen, adding individual. All right, no, I think that was more of a comment, not a question. So, okay, so I think we're kind of wrapping up near the end. What's your, I think it's kind of more fun one. What's your favorite feature? What's one that, if someone asks, should I give this a try? Like, what's your kind of favorite feature in ShowFlow, and one that really helps you?
Well, obviously, I really like the timing feature in just being able to stay accountable and knowing that someone else is watching and everyone else is watching. So again, from the little things to, we need the popcorn machine to crank back up before intermission, just the feedback that we're getting from the liveness of it, how you can just change things, and the actual, I'm just going to say the little blue line, the show calling, and how we send that out to so many people, and you think you're only affecting one person and you're affecting so many different areas and parts of the show.
Yeah, I mean, we're big on branding and calling things the right thing, but the little blue line, I think that's catching on. So I might, we might do a little branding change there. Well, I think that's a good wrap, a good way to end things. I do want to ask you first, Darci, is there anything kind of you want to, I know several of your colleagues are logged in and everything, but anything you want to leave us with, or kind of make us aware of, whether it's a charitable or kind of association specific thing?
Yeah, I mean, just the more teamwork you have with it, the more people that embrace it, the easier your job, my job is going to be, getting your team bought in, getting everyone on the same page and working towards that same vision is key. So, as far as rodeo world, I know there's so many people who think they run the show, and being able to take back ownership to where you're making it your own, to where you are making it look and branding the way you feel that your brand should be represented. I think that's key. So this has for sure been a game changer with just the ownership of San Antonio Rodeo for us.
Awesome. And is there, I don't know if there's any like social media that would be good to catch you on, or you specifically, or is it more just your organization? Anything?
Yeah, we have all the social medias on our organization, and then my email address is on our SA Rodeo page, so feel free to catch me on there if I can do anything to help.
Darci, again, thanks. This has been a pleasure. Again, I admire the work you do and how you lead your team. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sharif. Appreciate what you guys do. Y'all are always available to us, so we're grateful for that.
Okay, you're very welcome. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you later.